So once again, Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I want to thank you very much for your patience and graciousness to Sarah, to the entire family, and to all of you as we've struggled a little bit with the sound this morning. Not quite certain why. We've tried all sorts of turning things on and off, and I think actually that real buzzing that you heard in the background there was we actually got reduced to using a hammer. We just did not know what to do, but it's getting better now, and we do really thank all of you for your patience. So my friends, in my family, according to family lore, my great-grandmother each and every day would get up and clean the entire kitchen every single day. With boiling water and cleanser, she would wipe down every single surface, shelves, countertops, sinks, everything. She would unload the refrigerator, wipe it all down, and she'd take each plate, knife, fork, and spoon and clean each one of them. And she did this every single day. Family law also has it that her son, my grandfather, used to, every single night when my father was but a baby and would dirty a diaper in any way, shape, or form, my grandfather would get up and bathe my father. Every single time he dirtied a diaper at night, my grandfather got up and cleaned my father and bathed him. And this is not so much family lore, but this one I just asked. I once asked my father, the grandson of my great-grandmother and the son of my grandfather, of these wonderful traits, I once asked him, why is it that in this small loft in which my parents live, even though they have a bathroom in their room, my mother has to use a different bathroom? To which my father replied, well, your mother's a slob. To which I asked, having actually lived with my mother for a number of years and not ever experienced her quite like that, I said to him, Dad, what do you mean she's a slob? She's actually really quite meticulous. Yes, says my father, but have you noticed how she always leaves the cap off the toothpaste? Hence, for that one transgression, my mother was banished to a separate bathroom. See, obsessive-compulsive disorder runs true in my family. However, in my family, we don't call it OCD. We call it listening to your parents. We call it good genetics. We call it the way the world really should be. Others, however, have diagnosed us as being a tad compulsive when it comes to things being in place, to things being orderly and controlled. I should point out, however, that this desire for order and control is something that Judaism is very comfortable with and embraces. In fact, one of my teachers once described Jewish law as sanctified obsessive-compulsive disorder. Because so much time, effort, and energy is put into focusing on details, and details, and details down to the very minutia. But we should understand that within Jewish tradition, order, seder being the word for it, is something that we value and we understand as being a good. We just have to go back to last week's Torah portion, to the very first chapter of the book of Genesis. And what do we see there? But the orderly unfolding of creation, because order is the only way that we are able to take the chaos, the tohu vavohu, that the Torah says was the very beginning of creation, what science would call a quantum field, or what I would call my son's rooms. We take that chaos and that mess, and our ability to create order is what enables us to transform the potential of chaos into something beautiful and amazing. We see that in the very first chapter of the Torah. So our tradition embraces order from the very beginning. We see it even in some of the words that we use to describe key elements of Jewish life. The second most popular book and most important book after the Torah is the Siddur. Same word. Siddur, Seder, order. The Siddur is called the Siddur because it gives an order to the prayers. Without that order, we would not be able to come together as a community to be able to offer up our words of joy, of thanksgiving, and of blessing. And so we see Seder as being essential there as well. And the single most popular meal in all of Jewish tradition is a Seder. Again, something that follows a very specific order. So we understand from our tradition's perspective that order is a good thing, an important thing, an essential thing. But as we sort of see, if we just keep in mind my own family tree a little bit, sometimes you can have too much of a good thing. And that is what happens in this week's Torah portion. Noah is told by God that God has to wipe out the world and begin again. And then God proceeds to give Noah a set of orders, of instructions, of how to build an ark. And God goes into incredible detail, and the Torah does as well, in describing the ark. It describes in detail the outside of the ark, the physical structure of the external elements of the ark, down to the way the roof was to be built, and a hole, a skylight that was to be put in the ark as well. However, the detail of the Torah does not just end there, but it then goes inside, and it details that you're meant to build it according to the Torah with 3 levels, and it's meant to be divided so the animals can each have their own place. The rabbi's picking up on how focused the Torah is on order, on how much Noah has to do, on all the tasks that he's being assigned. The rabbis pick up on that, and they'll ask the question, so, while Noah was on the ark, what did he do? What did he do with all of that time? And in a lovely midrash that Rabbi Silver shared with me, the rabbis teach that Noah went around because Noah knew what each animal had to eat and exactly when they had to eat it. And so he spent his entire time on the ark, following a very distinct pattern, a very distinct order. This parsha is all about details, tasks, and creating order. And that is essential because it's the only way, with that creation of order, that Noah is going to be able to survive the chaos that is the flood. And so we see, yes, order is a positive. However, for all of the details that absorb Noah, for all of the tasks that God sets that take his attention, he becomes so enwrapped in doing this, so much so that every time he does something and completes it, the Torah says, God commanded it and Noah did it. But he's so wrapped up in completing those tasks, in following those orders, and in creating order, that Noah is blind. Because what is Noah's greatest fault? It's not that he follows God's commandments. It's not that he creates order. Noah's greatest fault, as far as I can tell, is that he does absolutely nothing to save the people around him. Not one peep, not one hint, not even a warning as to what is coming. Noah never reaches out to the other person. He never extends himself for any of the other human beings. Why? Well, I'd like to suggest it's not because he's uncaring. He's deeply caring. I would like to suggest it's because he's so focused on fulfilling the tasks at hand. He's so determined to create order and to do everything just right and to make sure that everything is in the right place, that he is blinded from the fact that the rest of humanity is going to drown and die and perish. And so he does nothing for anyone else, even while in the process of doing the nothing, what he is doing, that creation of order, is a good thing. And so it's possible when we look at the Torah portion that one can get drawn into doing something that is good, but it doesn't mean it's right. In this parsha, Noah does what is good, but by totally ignoring the rest of humanity, he does not do what is right. I know Noah. I know him very well. And I want you to know, I met Noah on Sunday night. I met Noah. How? Because on Sunday night at around 9:15, my own issues with order came roaring out in the dynamic between me and my two sons, Micah and Elijah. See, there we were Sunday night at 9:15, and I faced that age-old problem of parents of teenagers. Kids, did you finish your homework? Now, I want you to know my kids can be fairly busy, but this wasn't one of those weekends. And so there they were, having had plenty of time to do their work, and there it was, 9:15, and they weren't done. And my sense of disorder was touched. And I started hawking on them. I started getting on them. I started berating them. I started saying to them, come on, guys, really? Really, here we are at 9:15, and you're still not done? Because there's going to be some problem. You're going to open up your book, and all of a sudden you're going to realize there's some homework that you left at school. There's going to be something that we can't complete, and then you're going to freak out. And you know who pays for your freak out? Me! Because I have to deal with you freaking out that you're not able to get your work done. This is terrible. This is awful. I mean, I went off. And then I stopped. And then I came back again. And went off again. They weren't being very orderly. They were not being good little Bernhards. They were ignoring their family history. And berating them over this, hawking them on it, pushing them on it, irritating them about it, I was ignoring them. I had no reason to get agitated. They got their homework done in plenty of time. There was really no issue. And as I talked to Lori, my wife, about it afterwards, she reminded me that wasn't I probably the same way when I was in middle school and high school? Didn't I occasionally leave work till late at night on Sunday after all the football games were finished? And the answer was yes, I had. So here I had spent the better part on and off of an hour berating my children because they weren't being orderly. They were bringing a little chaos into my life. And looking at the week ahead, I knew I had enough chaos, and frankly, I just snapped. I got completely focused on the details of what they had to get done. And in doing so, I totally ignored my boys. I totally ignored the people that they were, people that they are. If they were to come away from such a moment and think, gosh, my father really finds me annoying, they would not have been wrong. So much so that the next morning, as Micah was getting ready for school, I yelled out, Micah! And he goes, what did I do wrong? And then I knew I had gone too far. Like Noah, I had become so enwrapped in this desire for order and for control and for organization. I had ignored the people right in front of me, my own sons. And as that realization sank in over the course of the day, I made a point of coming home that night and talking to them and reminding them that even though they were irritating me the night before, I told them they should never forget how unbelievably awesome I think they are, and that however irritated I may find them, I am always on their side and in their corner. See, I met Noah on Sunday, and I learned. I learned as I was studying the Torah portion, and a mirror was held up to my face of exactly how much like Noah I could become. And here's the thing, my friends. I don't think I'm alone. I think we all meet Noah at various points in our lives, in ourselves. We all allow the things that we need to do, those oh so important tasks, those crucial things that we have to get done, that we have to get organized, that we have to get in place. We let those things run and dominate our day. And to a certain extent, as Judaism teaches, that's okay. That's a good thing. Up until the point, though, that it blinds us to the person in front of us. Up until the point that our vision is so narrowed that we miss the human being standing across from us. That is when we have become too much like Noah. And as the Torah portion teaches us, Noah, for all of his following and creating order, could not save the world. The world was still destroyed. But perhaps we can use Noah's example as a lesson, and perhaps we can change the course of our own lives by not being so focused on what we have to do, but being concerned about the person we should become by acknowledging the person who stands across from us. It is very easy to get sucked into our daily lives and miss sharing with the people who are important to us how much we love and care about them and how important they are to us. But perhaps it's only when we see the other person that, unlike Noah, we might actually be able to amend, to repair, and to save our world. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.